Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking to myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th. I'm going to start reading here, but before I do, I want to thank you as always for subscribing to my channel, liking and commenting on this video. It really does make me happy, even if you're just stopping by to say hi. It's all good. All right, Lorrayne. Another question from Edward, and that's because Edward had a question that was answered in the previous video to this one. If you haven't watched it, it was very interesting. So I recommend checking it out. All right, so another question from Edward. When we feel what happened to everyone here, will we feel their physical pain as well? Physical pain seems to be the biggest evil that's happened here and caused most of the low vibe stuff. What is the purpose of physical pain? Is pain a trait of the NPC meant to augment the realness of this place? Do we want physical pain and that's why we set up NPCs this way? And just as an FYI, because Edward, I did add to your question, just so happens that the 25th does refer to this in the course of their response. Just so happens I had this question written down before you mentioned it, but that's because we're always all working on realizing the same realities behind the scenes. So of course, we would be having the same question. All right, so this is the answer from the 25th. Yeah, so a lot of the verbiage in this question was actually Clea's, because just so happens, and we're saying just so happens in quotes. In reality, as you know, there are no coincidences. Clea had been thinking about this question with pain because Clea is very hurt by the idea, or very affected, we should say, by the idea that pain has been the main point of leverage here for the dark. And of course, we say it's not by chance that Edward came up with this question as well, because we all share, and they were laughing, the energy is the energy. We said it a million times. This just proves that we all share. We're working on the same questions, really, on the same issues that we're trying to clarify for ourselves at a conscious level. And obviously, Edward is also doing a lot of this work consciously. And that's why all these questions are almost like clusters that people are working on. And this is important because it's one of the things we'll have to deal with on New Earth. The fact is, when we don't have NPCs anymore, we will feel in many ways, almost in a physical way, what happened. And we say almost in a physical way because obviously we'll not have bodies, or a body that is what we consider to be a body here. Basically, we will feel very much what has happened here. Even now, if you notice, when you watch something, say, even on television, and you watch a movie and you see, for example, some type of surgery going on or something physical happening, you feel it. It might not be happening to your body. You might not be experiencing pain the way that we think of pain here, but you're still feeling it. So in that sense, it will be very much more vivid when we go to New Earth because there will be no veil. We like to separate ourselves here. You won't feel it as in somebody's actually cutting off your arm, but you will feel all the emotions, which will feel almost physical of that happening. And so, yes, we're going to have to deal with that. Now, again, why has this been such an obsessive thought for Clea? Because she's telling herself, had we not had these bodies that feel pain, the dark would have not gotten the advantage, would have not gotten the leverage needed to make this world so miserable. If you think about it, diseases are body issues. It's a question of pain, really. Because if diseases were simply, that you have cancer, and in a year to 5 years, you might pass away, it would be just a point of knowledge. Say, hey, I'm getting a heads up that I'm ready to leave this game at some point. But you still have plenty of time to plan and enjoy. In other words, there is a difference between knowing something is going to happen, that you're about to leave this game, if that's the case. Not everybody with cancer obviously leaves the game. Clea is a perfect example of that, but we're using this as an example. The difference would be that if there was no physical pain involved, the difference would be that you one day got run over by a bus or don't wake up in the morning, and so you moved on, but you had no warning of it at a conscious level, obviously. Versus saying you got diagnosed with cancer and it's really last stage or whatever it is, and maybe you have 6 months, meaning that your higher self decides, do I want to be here for 6 months or do I want to be here for 3 weeks, whatever the case might be. So that's the only difference, really, if there's no physical pain. Physical pain is the key. So do we set up the NPCs to have physical pain? Yes, we did. And we did because it is the easiest way, the most effective way, the most efficient way to be in the game. It is the most realistic thing. When you are in pain, you're not thinking my higher self here and there. You are thinking, I will do anything right now to be out of this pain. Pain is very real, feels very real. Whereas in reality, at a higher self level, there is no pain, obviously. This is a game. So yeah, yes, we have set up that to be the case. However, we've also said pain is real for all humans within the matrix because we are all the same. But on other planets, they have chosen not to have so many instances of physical pain. So they've chosen not to have toxic products available to them. They've chosen not to have torture. They've chosen not to have even worse things than torture. So yes, here basically the dark has leverage. And this is one of the ways that we have said, and we've spoken many times about this, when we talk about, I can't say this phrase, but it's the abuse done on small people in a ritualistic manner. And we said this is completely unacceptable. No judgment in terms of the essence is free to do whatever it wants. There is really no difference between us and them. We are all one. And we said all these things. But at the same time, we've also said we are taking an entire planet down because of stuff like this. So we're not saying it doesn't matter because there is no judgment. It doesn't matter. It does matter. And it does matter because this, stuff like this, has contributed the way, for example, we treat animals, stuff like this. And we said, you know, there's no fun to be had. Stuff like this does matter for the essence when the essence is forced to have certain experiences, is forced to choose among these things. There are no good choices. These are not fun choices. We don't mean good as in moral good. We mean good as in fun and positive. And not even positive because you might think we're talking about light and dark. We're talking about choices that are really very low quality, okay? And we expressed our thoughts in regard to this before, so we won't go too far into it, too deep into it. But bottom line is that, yeah, pain has been taken to the extreme on this planet, but because we have reached such high peaks of darkness, it was never meant to be such a painful reality. And not only, it's painful from the higher self perspective in the sense of we're not having fun. So what is the point? It's really not fun here. And we talk about at the level of how the higher self played the game. I mean, what's the point of being in the game if you're not having fun? It's just dreadful. But also it has been truly painful from a game perspective where it didn't need to be. We have been at such low levels of vibration here that we have associated pain as being normal in life. This is how far we strayed in this game. Pain was never supposed to be your normal state of being for so many humans. Instead, we live, for example, in a society where people assume that by the age of 40, you need to start taking a bunch of drugs. It's normal. It's normal to see people. It is an exception, for example, in this country, not to take a bunch of pills by the age of 50. This was never normal. We were never supposed to be relying on toxic products, pretending that they are supportive of life here. So yeah, we could talk more at length about this, but I think we gave you a good overview. And so to answer this question, and maybe you can read through the question and see if there's anything we haven't addressed. But this question pretty much said, is this normal? Like, is this something that only happens here? No, it happens in the entire multiverse. We are all humans, and we all have the same traits physically. We just choose to leverage some traits more than others. Here has been an easy way for the dark to lower the vibration, to cause physical pain, not just to us. You see what we have done to animals. We already said many times there was absolutely no need to go to the extreme of torturing animals. But we do this on a daily basis to billions of them. There aren't that many essences left at any rate, and things are changing very, very quickly, even in that field. But you see, this was a choice. Yes, it was a trait of the NPC, and it has been leveraged by us, by all of us. We say the dark, you already know, really, it's all of us. We have leveraged that, thinking that it would be a really good way to lower the vibration. And guess what? We were right. But we have obviously gone way overboard, and that has brought us, it's been one of the main reasons why we decided that this was no longer a game that was worth keeping. And that is, we want to say one more time, it's a huge deal. It's only happened 3 times in eons that we've been in the Matrix. This is how bad it's been here. Lorrayne. Thank you. Okay, this is a question from David. In the Telegram group, David showed a video of the cathedral in Milan. When Clea visited again last spring, she was reminded it's supposed to be 900 years old. You said that we made it with our thought in a previous reset. What is interesting is that even up to the last reset, we still knew how to create things with our thought. Whereas in the last reset, the dark, we decided to do away with all of that and just live in a very humdrum, helpless, quote unquote, existence where we don't create grand art and architecture anymore. All the last 4 resets were done by the dark. Why such a huge step down in the last one? And I was curious about this because I do believe that we just don't make great art anymore. I understand a lot of art is new in the sense that, you know, we've done the classic stuff, but a lot of art is not, it's not great. It's just, there's just no comparison with the skill level, the abilities we had in the previous reset or when we were making, for example, art like in the Renaissance, but even before that, obviously. So it's always been interesting to me, this the step down, as I called it, me. Yes, so the reason is that we have wanted, and again, we've supported these resets by the dark. The dark cannot reset for all of us. We don't have to participate in a reset unless we want to participate. So the dark has stepped down the reality, very much so. And we have all supported it because we wanted to go deeper and deeper into the game. And what more for us to feel separated and helpless? Because, I mean, that's the idea of separation. We are not source. What is, if there was such a thing that was unsourced or the opposite of source, what would that be? It would be a helpless human all of a sudden. And they were laughing here. We laugh because there is no such thing. We are masters. But in our game idea, the most helpless thing would be, oh my goodness, reality is happening to me. I cannot do anything. We still felt way too close to our nature when we were able to make these things that we created from our thought. We couldn't have this. We live in a reality now where we believe we are worthless. Every once in a while, somebody who we believe is smarter than everybody else creates some advanced technology. And again, it's only allowed in technology pretty much, or some kind of knowledge of how the world works at 3D level. And then we feel like, oh, we have never been better. We are so advanced. And we're laughing again here with reason. Whereas the information is available for us to know. There have been, and we think of them as others, other civilizations that were much more advanced than us or created many more beautiful things. In fact, created things that we do not have the ability to recreate in our opinions, in our game perspective. And you see, we have reached the apex of us feeling completely helpless, completely minute as people, like we are minuscule in the multiverse. You see this repeated everywhere. Not only we feel like we have no power, there are those looming institutions on top of us. We are peons. We are nobodies. We're completely worthless. At the same time, we think of this even in spirituality, you know, the aliens. We talked about this. The aliens are all better than us, without even thinking of the fact that there are other 3D planets that have also been at takedown levels. The only reason we've not called for their takedown is because we're busy with this one. But we are the worst of the worst, and all the things that you already know. Many of us, in fact, all of us who are now hearing from the 25th, orally, obviously, because there are many who are connecting or consciously connecting. There are many that are aware now of connecting on their own. But basically, the reason we've all gone through the school of New Age spirituality, CLEA'S for sure. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with anything that is believed by people that want to believe in that. CLEA'S believed in a lot of these things as well. The reason we bring this up is because it's still the same. It's just the other side of the coin. You're basically feeling you're living as if you don't matter. And so really in that sense, at game level, this has been completely successful. The game here has been completely successful. We've had the greatest separation we could possibly experience. Boring because it's only in one direction, but we've had huge separation here. In fact, we were talking about this even at a very 3D level, when we talked about the fact that CLEA was having these snags happen with things coming up. But what she considers to be good things, like in terms of example, financial income and that kind of thing, wasn't happening because she would feel as if she was making that happen. For her to feel the separation, and this is no longer the case because she's evolved past that, but for her to feel the separation, she could only allow herself what we call the shocks of reality, which she considers to be negative financial events. For other people, maybe physical negative events or loss of people around them, whatever it is. Because for us, unfortunately, on this planet, the game has been that reality is very negative. And therefore, when good things happen, you feel like this is once in a lifetime. Wow. Like winning the lottery. When bad things happen, you feel like I'm playing the game. This is real. This is real life. We just finished saying, for example, for a lot of people, pain is normal. Pain is the default. If you're well, you don't even know how that happened. Oh my God, I'm feeling well today. What's going on? I don't even know. I don't even remember my body feeling this way. So that's what we're talking about. It's been obviously a logical progression in the resets. But the reason they never moved on from this reset, the dark is not reset again after this last reset, which happened a couple of 100 years ago, is because this is the ultimate reality. This is the ultimate reset. The dark can do whatever it wants. And again, we've all supported that. We're talking from a game's perspective at this point. The dark can do whatever it wants. It owns us. It owns everybody. Of course, we already said that they're not having fun either because, you try to own people. What ends up happening is that we are all one. So you experience the same thing. But the idea was that they own us. They can do whatever they want with us. We've seen it during the pandemic. They told people, here, take this poison. And people gleefully agreed to do it. Not everybody. Some people were forced. But you see, really, they did own us. They never thought, for example, there would be some of us that basically rejected the whole pandemic idea. And of course, it's because it was so close to the takedown. So obviously, we already were not supporting a lot of what happened anymore. And we've discussed this. We don't want to go too much into depth. But basically, this has been the ideal, in a twisted way, if you wish, the ideal, quote unquote, ideal scenario for the dark. And that's why. It is a very much stepped down version, even a more, if you want to think of it, even a darker version of the resets we've had in the past. Now, of course, we talked about, for example, the Ice Age, where that only lasted 20 years because we all hated it. But this, in some ways, well, in every way, really, is much darker than that. And again, just the fact alone that the dark is not reset anymore proves to you that it's as dark as it's going to get. We have no power, again, at 3D level. We have no power, and we're all ready for the picking. And all of the things that, again, the darkest people wanted to believe in while they've been here. And that we have supported, wars, famines, and we keep going like nothing happens. Nobody ever gets punished. We know this. You look at history, even in the fake history that we have, that we like to believe in. If you notice, anybody that wants to pay attention to this, that wants to be aware of this, will see there's no punishment for anybody. Even after what happened in the Holocaust, they did a few trials for show. They apprehended and processed a handful of people compared to everybody who had participated. Just like in the pandemic, people have gone along with this. They've said terrible things about their fellow humans, that they should not be allowed in hospitals, that they should be left to die because they weren't willing to take poison, and all the things that we are familiar with. This basically happened yesterday, and nothing is going to happen to these people. Now, they're gone, of course, we know this. But even if we had stayed here, nothing would have happened to these people. So it's not just the people, say the CEO of, and this is the name of a famous pharmaceutical company that starts with PF. So say the CEO of this company who did this, we always like to think, we like to pick a scapegoat and say it was him. Like in Nazi Germany, it was Hitler. Was it Hitler though? Or maybe his top generals? Was it? It wasn't. From a 3D perspective, there are a lot of people that have to agree with this, that actually have to do the actions to make these things come through. Because Hitler could have said horrible things and planned horrible things. And we already said history is not quite describing what happened. We know this. But he could have said horrible things and nothing would have come of them. There are people that are psychopaths every day that say terrible things. We see that right now. In the news, people coming out and saying this horrible thing is going to happen, lockdowns, 15-minute cities, and blah, 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 blah. None of that is going to happen. Even if we had stayed here, it would have not happened. Because the fact is, this pandemic has completely failed, and a lot of people would have not gone along. At the end of the day, it's hard to separate the two. The fact is, it was never meant to work. Again, we're experiencing the takedown, and therefore, obviously, all institutions would fall. So we just found a reason at 3D for why they would be falling. But the fact is, why are they falling? Even if we hadn't had something that went all out, like a pandemic, where you actually have people now pushing back and losing trust in the government and whatnot. The truth is, we as essences have not supported certain ideas anymore. And now that everybody's gone, we've changed the polarity because of this. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.